On today's episode, tips for a great home show. What to do, what not to do. Let's go.
How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name is Max, I'm your host. I'm the CEO at Smith & Sons Canada, and I am the ambitious founder of Elite Business Advisory. Thanks for joining me today. As you can tell, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll know what's going on, but if you're listening to the podcast, you probably need to get across to Business for Builders on YouTube. Today I'm going to be chatting real quick about what we did at the home show on the weekend. I promised you that I would do that. So I've got the good, the bad, and the ugly. But as usual, like and subscribe. One of these drops every week. And get across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. There's a private group starting to build there. So let's get on with it. So here we go. We are changing it up. We're using the whiteboard because I know as a builder, as a carpenter, we're very visual. We read plans all the time. We're always looking for plumb and straight, and we're making sure that things are built correctly. If it doesn't look right, normally our eye picks something up pretty well. So we're doing more work on the whiteboard for you. So again, if you're listening to this on the podcast, maybe you need to check us out on YouTube as well. Right, home show. What not to do, okay? And then I'll finish it, I'll build up and I'll talk to you about maybe some of the things that I learned just from the weekend. Now, I was all about a quote for the home show, or a quote at the show promotion, okay? What not to do at the home show. Don't do a quote at the show promotion, doesn't work, which is a pity because it was all good in theory, but here's the deal. We went there and the expectation was that people would run to that because they're like, of course I want it. Now, some of the barrier to entry, I think, was the fact that they really had to produce, some of the information to give me the ability to do it. So even though that it was good in theory, what happened was people were so preoccupied. The show's buzzing, lots of things to see. The last thing they want to do is just spend half an hour putting data, trying to get photos, measurements, etc., etc. So now what happened was, because I was relying on quote at the show being a hit, on Saturday, what we failed to do is actually take people's details. Rookie error. I should have known better. I should have run a backup plan at the same time, but I did not. And I really did regret that at the end of the day, because I was deflated that quote at the show didn't work. And there'll be photos, and I'm sure Dom's going to put some in there. I had 2 screens plus my laptop. I was ready to go. Like, that was my whole quoting suite out of my office was actually at the home show. So my advice to you is the quote at the home show thing doesn't resonate. Now, in the week leading up to the show, we had a Facebook video where I was talking about 20 projects that I was going to quote by the end of the show that got about 9,000 views. And yet I didn't get one single inquiry with regards to the QR code and the link. So that's the first thing that we don't do. Not because it's not a good idea, but just because it's not, obviously the marketplace doesn't recognize that as awesome. And so that's a problem. Okay. So, the next point there, what not to do is to fail. I don't know if you've ever run a home show before. I don't know if you've, if you've attended home shows. I know a lot of Smith & Sons guys have been to home shows, but they don't have to organise the home show, so they don't sort of understand what quarterbacking a home show is all about. But you've got to have some method and some way of gathering, the information. So I'm going to show you. There's 2 options here that I've got for you. Now, what I want you to understand too is that everything has got to have brand on it. So I've got a Smith & Sons pen, okay, and what I'm going to show you first is our inquiry form. Super basic. It's an client inquiry form that we would use in the office perhaps. If we weren't getting if there was a phone call that came in, this is what we would go to if we didn't rush to the contact page on our website. So that's one option that you can do. Now, sometimes if I'm talking to you, the client, I have one of my team who is listening, and you notice there's business cards like here as well. And we've also would give them a show bag, okay? Because I want people to be walking around because they're always like, I'm at the show and I've got all these brochures and shit and I'm going to put them in a bag. Oh, well, here's a bag. So we have some information that goes into that, but there's certainly a lot of room to go into that for other stuff as well, and it's another good branding tool, right? So this is really something that we would have as a mechanism to gather the information. Now, I networked with another gentleman selling outdoor patio enclosures, and he actually gave me the idea. He said, we have a triplicate form book that he fills out. And I thought that's actually, and then the client takes one, he takes one, and his estimator takes one. I thought that's a brilliant idea. See, I just go there not thinking that I've got it together, but that I can learn off of other people. So what you want to make sure you've got a good way that you can gather the data, okay? You want to be able to get contact details. Now, obviously be aware, some people give you sketchy emails and sketchy cell numbers. So, you know, you're just trusting that people be honest when they put that information in there, right? So what not to do, make sure you're gathering people's information. Third thing you want to not do is you don't want to go solo, okay? There's the booth sizes are about 10 foot by 10 foot or 20 foot by 10 foot. In the metric scale, that's like 3 meter by 3 meter or 6 by 3, okay? And I did a little bit of looking around, and there's guys in a 10 foot by 10 foot booth that are by themselves. Now, if that's what you have to do, I would actually, if you're going to go to a home show, I would try to make sure that if you've got a 10 foot by 10 foot or a 3 by 3, that you've got at least 2 people there. Because at some point, you kind of need to take a washroom break, you know? Or at some point, if your booth is good, you're going to have more than one person at the booth, okay? So you need to have that cover. For us, I mean, for a 6 meter by 3 meter, I think you need 3, kind of fills up the area. That's 1 every 2 meters or thereabouts, okay? And again, we had multiple people talking to us at once. Now, for me, I've got a business partner who's a builder. So I was able to double team somebody who was taking notes for me, and so was Jed. So that infrastructure is something that you need to be aware of. You need to be thinking about in real time what can happen at a home show and how are you going to handle. Now, sometimes, don't get me wrong, it's a bit dead, like there is some slow spots, so it's a good time for a washroom break or what have you. But when it gets busy, yeah, it can be a fairly exciting time. So don't go solo. 10 by 10, 2 people. 20 by 10, 3 people is a good thing to do. Now, the next thing, commission breath, what not to do, okay? You're not at the home show to sell, okay? You're there to demonstrate value, okay? So the first way that we would do that is you would look at your booth and go, is it a welcoming, good-looking booth? Okay, what we want to get away from is a vanilla-looking booth. We want to empathize with our target profile. So for us, if you walked into our office entry, there's a couch and there's a corner table and then there's a seat and there's a coffee table. We take that whole thing, put it in my trailer, and we ship it to the home show. So it's very welcoming. It's a reception area. It's almost a lounge room, okay? And I had existing clients come and visit us at the show that would sit down. And we had prospective clients that wanted to sit down and read a couple of our magazines that were on the table whilst we talked to, the lady, which is essentially, there's a lot of lady bosses out there that when we're talking renos, we're talking to the lady. So, I think make sure your booth is good looking and it's very welcoming. We don't want this, well, I'm a builder and I'm really good at building. Yeah, okay. But we want to be a little bit more, we want the human interaction. So going back to not getting commission breath, this is a branding exercise, and this is a rapport building opportunity for you, okay? So it's where people get to know me as the builder. And it was, it's unique because I think that would be probably the second home show, but probably the first one that we've really doubled down for me as the builder, talking directly to the homeowner, to which I would actually be working for that homeowner. And so I was able to speak in the present tense, not third party about, Smith & Sons. No, this is me, the builder, there's my business partner. Sometimes Jed and I would interact with a client. And so what you're trying to do is you're not trying to BS them. What you're trying to do is demonstrate the fact that, remember, the wall of distrust is up. They don't trust you or me, okay? What you're trying to do is chat with them about their project, give them really good insight as to what's happening, and try and let them go away with, that's really good information. I had one lady say that to me, And she's like, that's some really good information. I'm glad we'll be in touch. And they're from, Calgary. So they're out of province, okay? And so, we also I did a meeting the day after the show with a client that I'd already arranged a meeting for that time. And they actually popped out on Sunday and said g'day. So I got to meet them before I went to their home yesterday. So, people do business with people that they get to know, they get to like, and they get to trust. And so I know that my advantage is the fact that I can, build rapport and I can give them credible information. I can communicate, reasonably well, that I've got good knowledge, that I am the authority in the building game. And what I'm not trying, and we all say this, well, I don't go and downplay the opposition. I don't badmouth the opposition. I don't think that's right. I think you're 100% correct in just staying away from that type of thing. But what I can do is give them such an experience at a high level that when they go and talk to my competition, all of a sudden there is a contrast between me and my competition. And then I let the marketplace decide who they actually want to do business with. Okay, so that's because I want to befriend them, not because I want to be their mate or their drinking buddy, but I want them to start to trust me. That's what I want. And so, unfortunately, on Saturday, because I was doubling down on the QR code, which flopped, there was a lot of those types of people that went away with a lot of our information. They know where we are. They know who we are. They know what we're about. But I can't get on the sales bandwagon, which I love to do, and reach out to them and try and prompt them, and just so they don't forget about me. I missed that opportunity. So you don't want to do that, kids. That was a really bad move on my part because I really thought the QR code thing would go, and it did not, and it left me short in the first half of the weekend. Bad news. So I made some modifications overnight, and I put the QR code brochure inside of the the show bags that I give out, and so, I think it'll be okay. Right, but it probably wasn't executed. I made some assumptions, and that could cost me some business. Okay, and so I think it's really important that we empathize with our homeowners. I mean, behind me is the setup that I used on the weekend. Now, it's important to note too that after we end up bringing all the information back into the office, all the equipment, all the furniture, etc., back into the office, we sat down as a team and we had a beer and we just did a bit of a debrief about what went well, what did we do well, what would we change and all that sort of thing. And, there were some interesting points because I think I oversupply as far as information, and I clutter things up a little bit because I'm wanting to demonstrate massive value, but to my own detriment. So this is a pull-up banner. So a pull-up banner is about 7 foot high, had a whole bunch of information on it. That we're going to make some changes. This was the estimating department, which never got used. Okay, I sat there and checked emails. Whoop-de-doo. We had the hammers in the corner in a big black garbage can, plastic one. This is where the jelly bean display was. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. And then this is where our business display was: business cards, brochures, etc., etc. So next time around, and of course I had it mirrored over here. So there was another pull-up banner. What we found was, because the foot traffic, what we found was that it would be in this direction, okay? And these were the main aisles, okay? And this is something to think about too. So when we're at the show, I'm always doing the audit. I'm like, what's happening? What did we miss? All this sort of thing. So at the show, we've got this short aisle, okay? And what we're trying to do is we were trying to get people to come into this aisle from both directions, okay? And what I found was that people would actually walk in the show here, and because they're Canadian, they go around anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. So most of the folks would come down this way because they would walk in from the entrance and then they would go counterclockwise. I wanted to pick my booth up, and I talked to the organizer. I said, Jim, do you think I can have, because technically there's two 10 by 10s here, right? I want to pick those two up and I want to go over there, because that put me in touch with two other rows where I had both traffic coming at the booth, okay? There's a few technicalities with the organizer. He's not going to allow me to do that, so we're just going to figure things out. And because of that, we decided as a team that we've got to open up the ends. We've got 2 corner booths, so we've got to open up the ends. So all of this has got to change. No more estimating department. Okay, we open up the sides, and then we create more of an open feel, so people feel more welcome to come in. There's not too many barriers to entry. So there's definitely, we're going to put the couch over here this time. We're going to put the sales desk over here. We're going to put the monitor on the table, not up on a stand like we normally do. And then I think we're going to put the jelly bean display right in the middle. And I think I'm going to have some of these sandwich boards like this. We're going to have them at each corner. Now, point number 5, I'm all over the shop. Point number 5 is please don't have a vanilla booth. This is where I think builders get too hung up. There's one builder that I see at the show, and he's got a banner, right? And he's got one small sign, and then he's got a few brochures laid out. He's got, his home warranty insurance certificate, and maybe, I don't know, whatever else he's got there. That is just such a vanilla booth. This is a good way to wrap this up. So talked about a few things, what not to do, but I'm going to quickly show you what I did that I found was a risk, and I wasn't sure how it was going to be taken, much like the quote at the show. But what I did for quote at the show is I also created a menu board, and we got some really great feedback from that. So if you're going to go and do something fun at the show, mate, I'll tell you what, you saw these at the beginning of the show, right? You can't beat them. The kids absolutely love these. Now, I'm pretty sure that my business partner in Australia gets them from Alibaba, okay? And so we've got kids that will rush up to us at the show and go, have you got the hammers? Like literally 5 minutes into the show and you got kids coming through the door with mum and dad. And look, if I was a kid, the last place I'd want to be is at a home show. Now, if I can help the parents, and I'm a father of 6, if I can help the parents keep the kids entertained, then you're welcome, and we do. Now, we had one mother on the weekend who has clearly had these in her house before, and she's like, no, don't even give them to my kids again. She was very nice about it. But, immediately when you give them out to the 8 and the 10-year-old, what are they going to do? They're going to start hitting themselves and hitting mum and dad. And I think we probably gave out, I reckon, 200 of these, okay? So remember, this is a branding tool. What also is fun is as the kids walk around the show, all of our competitors, seeing Smith & Sons, baby, and that's branding, and you just can't beat that, right? So that's fun at the show. Okay, so the other thing that we do, this is Guess the Belt Jelly Bean competition, and here is the sign. Okay, so it's a nice looking sign. Jed put a nice frame on it this weekend. That was awesome. Okay. And this thing weighs a frigging ton. Now, I'm not going to put out on the YouTube how many jelly beans are in this, but if you want to have a guess, I don't know, it's probably 10 inches tall, probably 8 inches in diameter. There's a few jelly beans in there. People love to have fun at the show. Now, to give you an idea, here is the box, and look, these are the forms that I still haven't gone through yet. This is the amount of entries. This is 2 days worth of entries. So people, they go, okay, I'm guessing the jelly beans. And you know what? We tried a digital form for this and it flopped. Nobody wanted to do digital. What they want to do is, as you can see, the yellow form. They literally want to write it out and have a guess and how many numbers. And we've had people with calculators and trying to work out the formula for how many jelly beans there'd be there. Now, on that table, on the jelly bean table, what we've got is this. Gift basket, right? Super easy to put together. Cellophane's a bit of a trick to wrap, okay? And what we were doing is, that's all we would do. We would give one gift basket away. Now, what we found is, mum and dad are at the show, but the kids would be there as well. So we thought, well, and the kids would like to have a guest too, cute. So we thought, let's get a gift basket. Let's get a gift basket for the kids. So this one, candy, some chalk, some water pistols, because it's almost summer, right? A little toy. And, they get to look at that and go, that's what I could win. So what it does is it creates, Smith & Sons, the brand itself is family orientated. It's very traditional. And then we like to embrace that mandate at the show. And of course, I get the privilege of having my son there and my daughter, and they both work with me at the show. It's a family environment, okay? And so that's really what comes across, at the home show. So I'll finish on this. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, get across to an email and hit me up, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. I do coaching, custom coaching, customized coaching for contractors or builders. So if you're wondering about, boy, there's so much of this information out there, I just got to be able to bring it together. That's where you and I can really get after it and do some business. Right, let me close with this, okay? What I've got for you here is everyone knows what a sandwich board is. If you can see that, that was front and center on the board. And so what I found is as a building company owner is that there's so much cat and mouse with clients and builders about, well, what's it going to cost me? And I'm more than anyone, I am acutely aware of what goes on in the heads of builders when clients ask them that. There's a lot of nervousness around, well, Max, what if I give them the wrong price? And look, it's a challenge, okay? But what I've got here is, and I thought about this, and look, if you want to email me for some more information about this, or better still, go across to elitebusinessadvisory.com, book a consultation. I'll chat with you half an hour about questions that you've got about your business. We can talk a little bit about your goals and maybe what you're doing and some of the challenges you're having. I might be able to give you some insight. That's a complimentary coaching session. No strings attached. That's that. Okay. But what I did is you always hear me say, if I like the job, like the client, and the client's willing to talk about money, then I'm very happy to go to the next step. Okay. Now, I've got clients. Most people, if they see what I do on this podcast or on this channel and they don't like it, they're probably not going to ring me and ask me about business coaching. And that's okay with me. It's actually a good thing because it means that I'm not wasting my time talking to people who don't have a genuine interest. Well, builders, Mr. and Mrs. General Contractor out there, we want the same thing. So the idea was at the home show was to display a menu board with some pricing on it, so that the people come up and thought that a bathroom, like they're going to, we want to renovate a bathroom. And by the time I get round to having a 10-minute conversation with them and I figure out they only want to spend $10,000 on that home show, on that bathroom renovation, I've just wasted my time. And there could have been other people that wanted to chat with me that couldn't. Okay, so what I did is I put this menu board together. It's made up of 2 parts, okay? It's made up of a guide pricing for projects. So different project scopes in the renovation game. Okay, it's sort of very similar if you went into a show home or a display home and they said, well, a 200 square metre house, this is for the Aussies and Kiwis, 200 square metre house will cost you this much, a 250 or 2,500 square foot home would cost you this much, and it's got these inclusions, da-da-da. So I went along that vein, in that light, to try and help people get some clarity on what the level of investment was required. And I would say to people, this is done based on my historical data and my experience and jobs that we've recently priced. So there was some authority in that. It's like, well, it's not my opinion. This is what we do, okay? And so because there was one lady who come back and talked to my daughter and said, because you guys had that menu board out, we look forward to being in contact with you guys about our renovation. Isn't that ironic? So you won't really be able to see what's going on here, but this will give you a little bit of a visual cue. So this is a 24 by 36, or it is a 600 mil by 900 mil sign. And that is what clients were looking at just to be able to sort of get a bit of an idea about pricing. Now, the other thing that I did, that's got a bunch of different scopes on it. The other thing that I did is I put together some design services pricing. So, things like, draftsmen or architects, structural engineers, and those sorts of things. And so what it did is it was able to give homeowners a little bit of insight into what they, could actually do and what they couldn't do. And so what we found was, and I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what was the byproduct of that, which I really didn't consider, was that people actually came up. It was a good icebreaker. We had lots of people taking a photo of those signs. Lots of people. I had one guy say to me, look, I don't want to do a full kitchen reno. I just want to do backsplash or splashback, depending on where you come from. I want to do countertops, but I want to just recoat the walnut overhead cabinets. He said, is that going to cost me 49 grand? I said, Kevin, probably not 49 grand, but if I could have all of that done for you for around 25, how would you feel? He said, that would be great. Like, that was because I took a chance of putting the numbers on the board so people could sort of get some context. Now, I want to tell you this, when I put proposals out, they're only good for 7 days. Okay, at the home show, it was always going to be like those prices are just a guide only, subject to a site visit and construction drawings. Why wouldn't we do that to be able to breach that gap between you and a homeowner, to start having conversations so you can demonstrate your knowledge and understanding and your ability to sort of provide a solution to a homeowner's problem? See, we've got to take some risks as builders. I think we're a little bit of a trendsetter at this home show, because there was another HVAC company that all of a sudden had inflatable things, like our blow-up hammers, right? So there's some good ideas, but it comes out of a creative, and I love to be creative in everything that I do. And so I hope that gives you some insight. And actually, you know what I'll finish on? Just to give you some idea, that home show probably garnered about $2 million worth of inquiry. Now, I couldn't tell you the numbers of leads, but we were counting the dollar values when I look at the forecast bill value. So you think about this. If my investment for that show was somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000, we got $2 million worth of inquiry, and we got it in 48 hours. I don't know about you, and if my conversion rate, let's say, is a fairly average 20%, that's $400,000 worth of work that should happen, that I should sign in the next 90 days. And I said that to Jet. I said, this is what we can expect out the back of this show. Do the math, guys and gals. Have a think about that. Go, if I threw out $6,000 or $7,000 and I got $400,000 worth of work with an appropriate, a net margin, let's say of 7%, then that's a no-brainer, isn't it? So if you're sitting there and you've got the opportunity to consider going to a home show, I think you should take all the information and more what I've just presented, because it's not exhaustive, it's just my experience. I think you should probably take that information and consider and look into a home show, because we do one in March and one in September. And then of course we do marketing in between on Google and socials as well. And so that is what creates momentum. And remember, not the sales happens after the show, but at the show, it's more about rapport building, okay? And so just be careful you don't get that commission breath. Make sure that you understand, location is super important. It's why that this is not a side aisle, okay? These are the long aisles that run front to back of the arena. So I can work people coming down there and people coming down there, and then obviously people coming up on each of our sides. And then what we do is we get them into this side aisle, which is where we do a lot of our, chatting with and talking to. So, if you've got any questions on that, hit me on email, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. And if you've got any comments, leave them below. Happy to shoot some responses back to those. And get across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. And go build a kick-ass business. See you in the next episode. Cheers.